undescribed increases in review by CFIUS versus undescribed caps, it's a little hard to know quite what's going to happen on either of these approaches. But yes, in general, it's important to show restraint. For me, this stuff is about not some abstraction about international capital flows or even about our foreign policy or overall relationship with China. It's about opportunities for American workers. And when what we know is that foreign investment in the United States keeps businesses open that otherwise wouldn't have been open, causes businesses to expand that otherwise wouldn't have expanded, generates construction that otherwise wouldn't have taken place, and facilitates lower prices for consumers whose paychecks go further. And you have to have a very good reason if you're going to interfere with that. And so I think that's been the traditional way in which CFIUS has operated. CFIUS was years and years ago placed in the Treasury Department because there was a feeling that they wanted a presumption of openness to foreign investment, also so that other nations would give opportunities to U.S. firms. And I think that's a tradition that past Treasury Secretaries have done a good job of upholding, and I hope very much that Secretary Mnuchin will uphold it as well as CFIUS carries out its responsibilities. But look, the world's a different place, and there are more issues of potential technological threat than at some points in the past. So reviewing and renewing the procedures seems to me to be appropriate. But this is really a case where it's all going to depend on the details.
I wonder how you'd characterize China's response to what some call this trade offensive by the U.S. Shanghai's in a bear market. Yuan's at a low for the year. There's some who are backing the administration who want to argue we're going to have him on the ropes soon. Do you agree?
I don't. I think we are sufficiently codependent in the global economy with them that the odds that we're going to somehow hurt their economy and that's going to cause them to give us what we want rather than lash back in ways that strike our economy. I think this is like two guys wrestling on a very narrow platform 20 feet above the ground. It's very easy to injure yourself in the process of trying to score points.
But that's exactly been Secretary Ross's view anyway. The way he puts it is that you want to create an environment where there's pain, and out of that pain comes an incentive to reform trade, to reform industrial policy.
I think Secretary Ross is living in a fantasy world of yesterday. Secretary Ross's statements about national security defenses for limiting steel imports from Canada. Secretary Ross thinking about national security protection by limiting car imports from Europe. Secretary Ross's obsession with the bilateral trade deficits. These are not serious statements. There are real and difficult issues of knowing how to proceed, but treating this with the metaphors of two guys trying to face each other down in a bar is a prescription for real economic pain.
Secretary Summers, maybe you could go into a little more detail, since you ran the Treasury, on CFIUS. It's sort of an obscure committee within the department that looks at these deals and considers their merit based on national security grounds. Can you just tell us how it works and whether the Obama administration could have been tougher on deals with Chinese companies in the interest of our national security? Now we're at this point with China 2025 where we're all worried about China gaining a competitive edge on technology.
I don't look the way I look at it. I've spent time in Chinese AI labs. I've spoken with Chinese entrepreneurs who studied abroad and have returned to China. If you ask me, where is China's technological progress coming from? It's coming from terrific entrepreneurs who are getting the benefit of huge government investments in basic science. And it's coming from an educational system that is privileging excellence, concentrating on science and technology. That's where their leadership is coming from, not from taking a stake in some U.S. company. I look at the fintech area and look at the kinds of things that Alipay is doing. Those things are well ahead of things that companies in this country are doing. There are many other applications of AI where it looks like China is doing very well, and not because they stole it from us. So the real approach to maintaining technological leadership is through leading technologically, not through trying to hold China down. That said, clearly when you have a situation where it looks like Chinese companies are going to be in a position to extract intellectual property from an American company, it may be appropriate to stop that merger, just as on some occasions it was appropriate to look at Russian companies or Japanese companies in an earlier era. But we have to ask ourselves the question, companies are going to invest, they're going to create jobs in cutting-edge sectors. Do we want to tell them we'd like them to do that in the United States? Or do we want to tell them we'd like to do that somewhere outside the United States? And for the benefit of American workers, I think mostly we're going to need to tell them that they should do that in the United States.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.